Let's stand together now. Love this song. Love this song. So, hi, I'm Robert Deen. I am Bob Deen. I am whatever Dean you want to call me. And I am glad to be here and happy to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. We are a fellowship, a community, in many ways, a family of people who are committed to the ideal and ideals of New Thought, to the idea that there is only one, as we sang in this, as you heard in this song. Some of us may have sung along, and it is the idea that we are one. We have one purpose, one cause, one direction, and one opportunity to express our gifts through all kinds of directions and divergent ways. We welcome you here. We honor you, whoever you are, whatever your background, whatever your diversity, whatever your version of diversity may be. If you are, however you understand yourself to be a human being, however you identify, male, female, they, them, all of those kinds of things, culture, whatever your ethnicity, we honor it and we welcome you because we are a community that knows who we are and we know who you are. And this month we're going to be celebrating a theme as we do every month. And this month our theme is going further together. And we're going further together, not farther together. I had fun playing with that, trying to figure out why further and not farther. And what I came up with and what I realized is that further is about furthering our goals, furthering our values, furthering our individual ideas of ourselves and what is good and what is right for us, and furthering that which is greater, for the greater good of the collective, for the greater good of our community, for the greater good of the communities in which we live, and for our world. So we are furthering our cause, we are furthering our purpose, rather than trying to go farther on the outside in some way. Nothing wrong with going farther, especially when you're on a mission or a vision or whatever, but it's furthering the internal that we're really about here in this teaching. So we welcome you, we welcome you, we welcome you. Please enjoy this time, share it with your friends, pass it along if you find it valuable. So if you will, next I'd like to recognize a big part of what we believe is in our Declaration of Principles. And these are as follows. This is an excerpt, not the whole thing, but it is a good, solid excerpt. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. And so it is. Our organization is made up of many people in many ways. One of those areas are our licensed practitioners. And a spiritual mind practitioner, or licensed practitioner as we call them, are folks who are trained in using new thought ideas and using these principles to bring about for themselves a greater life, a greater freedom, a greater spirit, a greater livingness. And they are also then have demonstrated that they can do that for other people, with other people, to assist others in creating greater expressions of life for themselves. So if you run up against any kind of barrier or anything that you're stuck with in your life, don't hesitate to reach out and contact one of our practitioners who can support you and help you in clearing that, whatever that block is, aside, and can move you forward into a greater expression of life for yourself. Today in our session this morning, we have one of our licensed practitioners, a wonderful and amazing person who has recently joined our center, and that is the wonderful Norma Roberts. Thank you, Norma, for sharing with us this morning.
Good morning and a happy October to everyone. I found an article written by Ernest Holmes and published in the Science of Mind magazine, August 1973. And I would like to share some of the excerpts from this article with you. The title of the article is One Man with God. He said in the article, in all the years I have worked intimately with so many people, I have never yet found one individual who did not secretly long to find something that would make him whole and happy, and something that would give him a sense of security and safety. And I have never yet found an individual who did not wish the same good for others. I'm a great believer in the innate goodness of people, and I know through much experience that the average person wants to do the best he can. Frequently, I have asked, why don't you learn to use spiritual powers so that it will be effective in your life and in the lives of those around you? Jesus definitely set about to prove that one man with God could do anything. He demonstrated for all ages that just one person with implicit faith can do anything. If Jesus emphasized one fact beyond all others, it was that what he was doing, others could do also, if they believed they could and if they believed in God. Jesus knew that one man with God is a majority. As we look back over his life and consider his meaning, we discover that to him, the presence of God was as real sunshine, was as real as sunshine. I'm sorry. And as definite as the wind blowing. So great was his concept of the power of God within him that he said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. One man with God is a wonderful idea, and it will be even more wonderful when we realize that one man is ourselves, but that one man is not ourselves unless we include God. It is one man with God that we must emphasize. God exists everywhere, and in him we live and move and have our being. The Spirit is within us as well as all around us, and we can have no life apart from it. All the life of the Spirit then belongs to each one of us, but in a certain sense, we only have as much as we use. The power that Jesus manifested was divine. It was not the will of an individual, but his willingness to believe that gave him power. It was not a concentration of spiritual forces that Jesus exercised. Rather, it was a childlike and implicit faith in the reality of the Spirit in human affairs. Let us think of the silent communion we have with the Spirit that knows no bondage, with the life that knows no death, and with the power that knows no obstruction. As we do this, something within us comes alive and awake and aware and gives us the courage and the assurance to say, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. Out of this communion comes a divine authority, which is the gift only of heaven. One man with God, and you are that man. And I am that man. There is one side of us that has never entered the shadow of doubt. This is what we must develop if we are to prove that one man with God can be supreme in whatever is right, just, or true. Just one man with God. And this shows that we can go further as we go with God. And now I invite you to join me in a treatment as we recognize our oneness with God and realize with thanksgiving that which is done in us and through us. As I speak in the first person, I know that I speak as you. And I invite you to accept as much as you desire and let all else fall away. Knowing there is but one life, that life is God, and that life is my life right here and right now. I know Spirit's perfection is. It is the isness of all that is. It is the intelligence that I am operating in me, through me, as me, in all that concerns me. I now speak my word from this intelligence, knowing that because I am God's means to express, there is no situation, condition, or experience that is greater than the mind that perceived it. I do not give in to disappointments, discouragements, or delay. I am not misled by aggravation, irritation, vexation, or humiliation. I turn my focus away from the announcements of the world's prevailing conditions or personal failures. As I hear these reports, I know the truth. The truth is, God is all there is. And the possibility of healing all of these conditions is then established. I declare in mind that absolutely everything is subject to change because there is no lack, limitation, or loss in the mind of God. The law of mind is not governed by a precedent. It cannot reverse itself. It cannot be denied. Therefore, as I change my consciousness, I change the conditions in my life. Again, realizing that I am God's means to express, I reorganize my thought and base it upon the recognition of the one power that is independent of any circumstance, condition, or situation, making it therefore possible to recreate my life. I cannot be touched by the world's belief because I fill my consciousness with a sense of the love of God until my whole being is flooded with God's love. Because we are the divine community, my knowing opens the floodgates of God's good, and the direct channels of my knowing pours forth, expanding good to all. I therefore create for myself and for all those around me perfect health, abundant, greater wealth flowing through expected as well as unexpected channels, expanded creative self-expression, and broader personal relationships. I give thanks that the law of God is my life, self-existent and immortal. The truth of God is my truth, unconditional and eternal. The intelligence of God is my intelligence, complete and perfect now. As I recognize all is well in my world, I happily release this word into the law, knowing it cannot return to me void, but must accomplish that to which it is sent. And I declare it is done. It is perfect. It is complete. And so it is. And now, our music arrangement entitled Together We Can Change the World is by Mark Shepard. Thank you.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world. Lay the puzzle pieces out, find out what it's all about. Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. With our hands and with our hearts, we can dare to make a start. Together we can change the world. What if we spoke with one voice, knowing that we have a choice? Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. Change your life, set aside the fear and strive. Together we can change the world. When we open up our eyes, then we start to realize together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we could change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we could change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we could change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world.
Together we can change the world. So, together we can change the world. Thank you, Norma, for a wonderful treatment and reading and reminder of what power lies within one individual, one person who gets committed, who is committed. So I have a great story for you today. This month we're going to be doing asking a lot of questions more than giving answers. However, so some of the stories I'm using today you'll hear again through the month, and we'll do a little more developing them as the time goes on. But the one I really love, one of the ones I really love, and this comes out of Peru from the Andes. I heard it when I was there, and at the time, anyway, here it is. The story is of two of the very important animals in their world and in their collection of ideas of spirit animals and such, the hummingbird and the condor. And it seems that one day the hummingbird and the condor got in an argument as to which one could fly the fastest and the highest. And so finally, the hummingbird, in his exasperation, challenged the condor to a race to the throne of God in the high heavens. Now, this is a myth. It's not a factual story, of course. We don't believe the heavens are anywhere high. They're right here within us. However, for the condor and the hummingbird in this story, it was a race to the throne of God in the high heavens. And the word spread throughout the land, and people gathered on the mountainsides to watch this amazing race between condor and hummingbird. The morning came for the race, and the day began to wear on, and the only one who had shown up for the race was the condor. And the condor was puzzled, and the people were puzzled, and finally someone said, well, if you don't do the race, then you will not have won. So go for it, condor, and let the hummingbird catch up when he does. So they declared the start of the race, and off went the condor. And he flew. Condors are very large birds, very big wingspan, and soar in an amazing way. So he flew higher and higher, and his wings got tireder and tireder. But he continued on as he flew, and as he flew higher and higher toward the heavens, until he reached a point where he could see the temple in which the throne of God existed. And he flew, and it gave him that last burst of energy to fly toward it, but he only made it to the steps of the temple. And he collapsed, exhausted, on the steps of the temple. And out from under one of his wings came the tiny little hummingbird, who then flitted right up to the throne of God and won the race. Now, what do you think of that story? What does it stir up for you? What ideas pop up? Myths are wonderful depictions of truth, and they are things that reflect back to us where our consciousness exists at any given moment. First time I heard this story, all I could think was that poor condor. I mean, I'm a big guy. I've gone through life kind of bumbling and as a big, soaring, big thought, big idea person, but not with much speed, but with a whole lot of endurance. And I grew up in a household with a tiny little sister who was half my size, who I could never catch. She could always outrun me. I could never move as fast or with the kind of energy that she had. My energy is kind of slow and methodical. Hers was kind of like the hummingbird. So when I first heard this story, all I could do was feel sorry for the condor. Not fair. He did all the work, and the little hummingbird got the last bit and got the glory. Later in life, I looked at this story and went, you know what? Neither one of them would have made it without the other one. Truly, the hummingbird did not, because it burns so much energy when it flies and it uses so much energy. It eats tons and tons every day to keep that energy going. And the hummingbird never would have made it by itself. But it was wise, and it latched on to that which could take it most of the way. And then it used that burst of energy at the end. So it really took both of them to get to the throne of God. Neither one would have made it by themselves. So this story has lots of other ideas and thoughts and intricacies in it. So I invite you to just spend a little time. Where are you in your responses to the story? You may be stuck back where I was for a time of, well, it's a silly thing to think God has a throne anywhere. Except in the hearts of man or woman or human. Maybe in the very essence of the beingness of life of God itself is trapped, and not trapped, but held in the presence within the physicality of all of the world, and the universe is in everywhere. Where is that throne? What is the very purpose in flying towards it if you're trying to get to something? All of those kinds of questions. Ask yourself those questions. Spend some time this week thinking about those questions. We're talking about the beloved, the divine, rather, community. Every time I see that in print and it rolls across the screen or wherever else, my brain says divine comedy. And perhaps the two are very similar, if not the same, and interchangeable. For a divine community and a divine comedy may look very much alike in terms of its everyday living and expression, its everyday movement. We're going further together, and today the divine community is the first step, or in considering that is a first step in that direction. What is a divine community? What does that mean to you? What makes it divine? What makes it community? I would pose a couple of ideas. One is that divine, what makes it divine is your idea of it as divine. You know, we do not live in a world of duality where there are certain things that are sacred and certain things that are not. It's a real trap in considering what's sacred and what isn't, because you're immediately saying what's good and what's bad, or what's better and what's worse. And as soon as we fall into that duality, we fail to see that the divine is everything, in everything. Nothing can exist outside of the divine. So all community is divine community. But by naming it such, we're choosing to bring the elements that we understand as divine into that community. You know, there are communities that gather and build up around all kinds of things that you may not consider divine. Doesn't matter, they're still divine. But when you think about what's divine to you, what are the highest values? What do you hold dearest and largest and greatest as truth for you? That's your divine ideas. And when you bring those into community, it gives it a greater sense of power and respect and responsibility. See, divine community isn't defined by anything on the outside. It isn't about whether it's in a big church or has an altar or what the practices are. It is about what's the heart. What is on the inside of that community? What are the values that community lives by? What are the things that unite us in community? What are the things we believe in community? That's where the real issue of community is and divine is. The divine is not defined by a throne somewhere in the sky or in a temple. It is defined by the consciousness of the individual to recognize everything as divine and to recognize specific things as being divine power and importance to me. Things like love, things like joy, things like happiness. Sometimes things like anger even. Things like discontent. When I look at some of the ways in which people treat each other in the world today, I feel discontent. It is not within my idea of divine community for people to behave in harmful, deliberately painful ways toward each other. Divine community for me is a constant motion toward a greater and greater expression of oneness and love, and finding ways to get to that and to get there. Martin Luther King called what we're calling divine community as the beloved community, which I think is more accurate, frankly, because it doesn't say divine versus profane. It just says community, and the defining part of that community is beloved. So the beloved community, and here's what Martin Luther King said about it, Martin Luther King Jr., in 1966 in a talk. He said, "Our goal is to create the beloved community. And this will require," this is the important part, "a qualitative change, in our souls, as well as a quantitative change in our lives." Wow. So developing this beloved community means a qualitative change within us and a quantitative change in what we do. So I would ask you, What is the qualitative change that needs to happen inside of you, inside of me, to fully stand in that beloved community? What makes it beloved? What does beloved mean? Beloved means dearly loved community. How big can my dearly loved community be? Can I love the hummingbirds and the condors in the world? Or do I feel a need to choose one or the other? One of the most powerful things someone said to me after our last presidential election was, imagine half of the people in this nation are now plunged into disappointment and perhaps even disillusionment over what's happened, where their belief systems, their ideas, their political goals, their version of truth simply was not elected or brought forward. Can we be a beloved community that embraces all sides of questions? Or are we a beloved community within our own version of things? I think one of the things that defines a divine community is it's a bigger concept than the beloved community. I can create a beloved community within my own little group. I grew up in a Baptist church, and my growth there was wonderful, and the love there was fabulous until I didn't fit anymore, and then it wasn't so great anymore. I could no longer participate in the beloved community because I wasn't beloved. But the divine community includes all of those beloved communities wherever and however they exist. More questions today than answers. I want you to think about where you are in this business of a divine and beloved community. See, one of the things about a beloved community, it's a community of belonging. Belonging means to be involved, to be connected, to be in longing, but to have that longing satisfied in some way. Belong. And the answer to that, I think, always is welcome home. Welcome home. I attended the group this past weekend that I had not seen since 1994. A group that I had been very much a part of and helped to organize in the early days. And when I got home and they said to me, welcome home, I felt it with every part of my being. It was belonging. I found the group to which I still belong, and with whom my influences in part had a part in them being who they are today, and they continued on in this amazing program. You know what I mean? Welcome home. You've certainly been to places in the world where home meant you just felt it. You just knew it. It's a place where we're understood, where we're known and loved. And by known, I mean known in our faults and in our areas of improvement, as well as our areas of great goodness and joy. Known in our grumpiness as well as our pleasantness, in our conflict as well as our love and passion. Home is that place where all of that comes together, and we can just relax into it and say yes. The divine community can be home because it's where we belong, for sure. The divine community is built on one thing and one thing only, and that is love. For we call it the beloved community as well. One of the definitions in some of the literature about beloved community says that the beloved community must be a vision-led group, and that vision must be toward a realization and the expression of compassion and love. That's your divine community, where there is a vision that's shared and a joint expression of love. That's why we read together every week our idea, our conversation, our declarations of principle, because those for this community are our shared ideas, our shared vision, our shared love. And one of those pieces is not in the one we read every week. It says this: we believe in the ultimate goal of life is to be the complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. Is sure to be attained by all. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. Divine community means that we are already in heaven. This is already the place where heaven and hell takes place. I've heard people joke oftenly and say, well, I don't need to go to hell because I've already been there. And I can tell you, for me, that's partially true. There are times when I really felt like I was in hell. I was alone. I was separate. I was separated. I did not see my own value. I did not see the value of life. I did not see the value of all the good around me that was trying to come to me, but I couldn't accept it because I couldn't see it. Or that heavenly place where all is in unity and oneness, where life is expressing itself richly and beautifully. And we see it as a connection. We see the goodness and power and contribution of the condors and the hummingbirds and all of the others. And they are rich and they are wonderful. They are beloved and they are good. The beloved community is built on what is the internal connections, not the outer. Many communities build themselves together, their togetherness around some external activity or purpose. We're going to attack this group, or we're going to go for that group. And many spiritual communities do that as well. It is the goal of this spiritual community, this beloved community, this divine community, to build and to support and to grow our own movement through our soul's growth, our life's growth, our beingness growth, so that we can embrace all good, we can discover our gifts, and then we choose where to take action on those individually. We do not choose a particular purpose or cause or event to go after as an organization, because we are so diverse, and diversity is such a great thing, and it's such a wonderful way to celebrate our lives as unified, coming from the same source, and yet individually perfect and right and good for us. Think about that. One of my first centers back in Tampa had a title or a slogan that we used on everything that said "Oneness in Diversity," and I was pretty happy with that at the time. But now today I would change that and say "Oneness as Diversity," because if there's only one power, it does not mean we're all the same. It means we are all uniquely, wonderfully different. And we need to celebrate that and honor that and let all of that diversity be part of the very structure and essence and beauty of who we are as a people, who we are as a community. And so we encourage people, get out there, stand for what you stand for, take the steps that you feel called and led, and see It's yours to do. But don't let anyone else tell you what that should be. That must come from your own inner being and your own self and your own truth and your own goodness. So I'm going to leave you with a story. Like I said, more questions and answers today. Also from Peru. They teach a process down there because they believe everything is energy. Life is energy. I said by they, I mean the people who participate in the ancient Inca spirituality, and its version that has carried into the present. So they taught some of the secrets of the Incas, and one of those is that you have the power and ability within you to sort things in your body and in your life between heavy energy and light energy. They don't believe in good and bad or right and wrong or good energy or bad energy, but all energy is just energy, and it's either light as in bright and light and spread out and uplifting, or heavy as in dark and condensed and pulled down. So they taught us how to work with those two differences, because when you're climbing a mountain and you're walking a long way that you're not used to, you build up a lot of heavy energy in your body. And Pachamama, the earth, loves that heavy energy because she thrives on it. It's like fertilizer to the ground, bringing new life. So Pachamama just, give me that heavy energy. So we learned a technique to use that process within us, so it's actually built in on not only releasing our heavy energy into the earth, giving it to Pachamama, but also doing that for other people. And it was really fascinating. It still is, to walk around in places where people don't expect it, and you choose to utilize their heavy energy and drop it into the earth to lighten their load and to lighten yours at the same time. And you do that strictly in mind and consciousness. But when you have a group of people who are committed together, then they really can go further and farther than without it. So what we did, the short version, because I just realized this could be a 3-hour class. The short version is simply that when you start hiking in a group, if you've ever done that, you know that the speed demons always get in front and zoom, they're gone, and wait often to catch up if you want to keep the group together. And it becomes very tiresome, and it feels very behind for those of us who move slower. But in the Inca way, you line people up about 3 feet apart. You put the slowest in front to set the pace. And then everyone behind them chooses to absorb the heavy energy of that slower person and sink it into the ground and free them and ourselves, those of us in the behind parts, to have lighter energy as well. It was an amazing thing the first time I saw that in practice and participated. We had a group of 12 people down in Peru, and we were ready to climb Huayno Picchu, that big mountain behind Machu Picchu that you always see in the pictures. And it really is just what it looks like. It's a pretty straight up climb all the way to the top. And we had people who had not done anything to get into shape, who were not in shape, who had not been walking, nothing. And we put the slowest person in front. The rest of us began to practice. When that person felt like they were ready, or the person in the back who would get to be the tiredest was ready, they would go to the front, and we would just keep rotating the group. So the slowest, the tired person from the back would go to the front. And I want to tell you, that group of out of shape people just walked right up that mountain. We never stopped to break. We didn't need to take a break. We had all of the energy we needed as a group to get to the top. It was slower, but we went further. If we had split up and everybody took off and then used their own energy for their own purpose, we never would have made it to the top as a group. Some of us would, some of us wouldn't. It was powerful to experience that. Next time you're out hiking in the mountains here, try it if you've got a group of people willing to experiment. If you just get Put the slow one in front. You ones in the back, just feel the energy and let it happen until you're ready to switch. And I guarantee you, you will find that you go much further and farther together than you ever would as separate individuals in different places. So I invite you now to join me for a few moments of meditation. I've raised a lot of questions today. What do you think of the condor? What do you think of the hummingbird? What do you think of your beloved community? What do you live and love? What do you love and what do you not? What can't just quite yet be included in your beloved community? And what are the values, the real values that you hold about life itself? Because that's what connects you with the larger divine community, the larger beloved community, the one where you may not even know the people in it, but you know what the feelings are, you know what the values are. So take a moment with those questions and let's simply go within. Take a nice deep breath and let it go. I invite you to feel whatever feelings are coming up related to this question. Whatever thoughts you're having about the questions, the thoughts, the ideas, the speaker, yourself, around you, who's there. Just notice your general feeling atmosphere and your thought atmosphere right now. And I invite you with the hummingbird to lift your mind, your ideas, your thoughts to that which is infinite, that which is divine love, that which is bigger, higher, larger, bigger than anything you've yet imagined. You may see it as a golden light. You may see it as a thought, an idea. You may see it or experience it as simply a feeling. Mathematically, it's infinite. It's the forever symbol. Allow yourself to recognize that that symbol and that mathematical formula and that energetic reality and that consciousness is what you already live in. It is your natural state. It is built into your body, into your mind, into your thought. You don't have to do anything to make it happen. You simply open in thought, in mind, in heart to this greater sense of self, this greater awareness of life. And as we open to it, allow it to show up in whatever feelings, forms, colors, pictures that it may show up. And recognize that you are not separated from that infinite in any way. You cannot be and still exist. For all that is within that one unified field of energy and information of life and love of God itself. And as you think of the condors and the hummingbirds in your life and all of the others who fit one place or the other, they're all part of that larger, more amazing thing we call life, we call God. And there's no thing and no one who is not part of it. And so right now, by action of this treatment, this guided treatment, I extend my own choice to love to all of those that I share this unified experience of life with, to all of those that I am part of in life itself, whether I know it or not, whether I agree with them or not. My love extends to all because they are some expression, some part of something related to me. It extends to the planets, the earth itself, to life itself. I allow that feeling of love to explode out of me, gently or powerfully, whichever way it actually seems to be. And as I live in that love and stand in that love and create a world in which that love is the dominant view and dominant experience, I do this in this moment. As soon as some other idea comes crashing in, I let that go and do it again in this moment. I love in this moment. I choose love in this moment. And it is that constant choosing that creates my beloved community, and that truly takes us deeper and further into the lives that we dream for ourselves individually and that we dream and imagine for the world. I'm confident in that. I'm grateful for it. I let go of any nonsense that tells me it can't happen and it's not true. And I stand instead in the gratitude of knowing that I am immersed in the love that God is, and I am sharing that love with anyone who can wake up and see it. And even if they don't wake up and see it right away, they can still receive it. And I stand in it, and I give it through my gifts, through the things I'm passionate about, through my life. And so in gratitude and ease, I let this treatment now stand as the truth. I let it now stand as my truth, as God's truth. It vibrates out into every being that's part of the oneness, and that means every being. So knowing that, in confidence and faith, I release this treatment now, knowing it is already doing its work. I simply need to return in my choice again and again and let spiritual law do its thing. This is my truth. I let it be. I let it be so. And so it is.
Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Thank you.
Awesome talk this morning. And sometimes, call it right. There we go. This beloved community that we're all a part of, I am grateful to be on the board as the treasurer and know that we are doing a good work and we're profitable. So keeping that up with all the tithes and contributions that you all share with us for bringing this community online as it is right now out to the world, making it a greater place. We are greatly appreciative of that. So if you would say the affirmation of prosperity with me, and here it goes. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And you can donate at cslmidtown.org. There's a link on there to donate, and cslmidtown.org/donate. And you've got awesome opportunity to do either a regular tithe or one-time gifts as you have the ability to do that. So thank you and welcome, and on to announcements.
And it's time for everybody's favorite fun game, announcements. Hey, stay in touch with the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown through our newsletter. Get one email a week letting you stay informed. And please subscribe when visiting YouTube to our YouTube channel. Those subscriptions go a long, long way. And while you're on your social media, why not give us a like and a share on Facebook? Let your friends know what we're doing. Invite them to come watch our services with you. And join us on our Zoom room throughout the week. We offer a variety of Zoom interaction opportunities each and every week here as part of the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. 10 a.m. Sundays, our discussion group around the 365 Science of Mind book. Every Sunday, 12 noon Sundays, our community fellowship immediately following our Sunday services. And 12 noon on Tuesday, our online empowerment opportunity. The access information remains the same for all of our Zoom experiences. If you need access, please visit cslmidtown.org and you'll find access information on our website. Join us on any of our Zoom opportunities throughout the week. And while you're with us, be sure to connect with one of our professional practitioners. These are folks that are highly trained to support you along your spiritual journey. You can learn more on our website about our professional practitioners. Just head over to cslmidtown.org, click on About and Practitioners. Then you'll see their bios and a way to reach them and learn a little bit more about each of them. And please send us your prayer requests. Click on the Home tab and look for Affirmative Treatment Prayer Requests. Fill out the form, send it off, and get our professional practitioners praying for you each and every day.